go down to the root of the family business, not only the listed company. So that is general my comment for the time being, and I can happy to discuss any questions and any in the second session. Thank you, Kun.
Thank you, ครับ คุณกิติพงศ์ So คุณกิติพงศ์ talk about 6D 6C which is corporate structure, compassion, communication, conflict resolution, compensation, change, but another 2C which is really important, which is care and compassion, right? One thing about talking to Kun Kitipong is that he's so knowledgeable that when I ask question 1, he goes to question 3 already. Okay, now let's turn to the person who's really in family business, Kun Anurat. So what is family business, and does corporate governance add value to the, how does corporate governance add value to the family business and its sustainability?
Okay, I think most of people attending this seminar either have their own business or just about to set company into a listed company or already a listed company, and I believe some of them who are sitting here also the board of director. I think okay, definition of family business itself is already contained the family and the business. So whenever we talk about family business, we have to think of how we could manage both systems at the same time. All right. To tell you the truth, in fact, 99% of the companies who are listed in the stock exchange in Thailand is family business. So long as a family or family relation control a block of vote or can control the board of director, you can say the family business. It's a matter how they want their company to be well run, how they want to set the most effective board. Okay. In my experience, I would say that if you want to set a real most effective board, some member have to sacrifice. All right? And it's not so simple. You know why? Because most of the company at the present time is run by either first or second generation. And I believe that the first and second generation, they have so much pride on what they have done. So, if you want to change, it's very difficult. I think in order to set the platform, one need to reduce the gaps of the knowledge, and one need to share the experience. I think the next session, I think how to. I will go into how to later on, but just to summarize, what's a family business is you need to relate the two systems together, find the balance. You have to ask yourself among the core family member, do you really want to have the business first or you want the family first? In the first generation or second generation, I think the family member, there are not so many people involved. So people rather lean towards the family first. They care about feeling and wants among the family members. But as the business gets expanded, as the family gets expanded, it's become more complex in the size of the business and the size of member. So CG is a must. Otherwise, you're going to have conflict among the business also have wants and need. The family also have wants and need. There always a conflict. So you need to have a balance of the system. I will go into the second session of how to manage it. All right.
Thank you, Kun Anurat. So there is family and there's system, and it's very difficult to strike the balance between this family and system, and CG can help. Yeah. Now I would like to turn to Kun Prateep. Kun Prateep has a long experience of family business, from starting the family business into now a very, very successful listed company in Thailand. So Kun Prateep, how do you describe family business, and what is your experience in running a family business, especially a family business that is listed?
Okay, thank you, Kun Kulawet. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to talk is about listed company in the stock exchange of Thailand. Listed company, here it comes. Okay, I'd like to start with the governance for listed company. When we talk about governance, what we're aiming for is better performance, right? If we have good performance, if we have good governance, and then the company is losing money comparing to the other company in the same industry that are making money, then what for? There must be something wrong. To have good governance means that they might be no or very limited, very few corruption within the company, which result in good performance of the company. No. It's not shown here. It's shown on.
It's okay. Actually, the first slide is very simple. It's governance and that drives performance. Yeah.
It's a main part of the good performance.
Yeah.
That's it. ช่วยทำให้มีขึ้น Okay, the next one. Also not. PDF.
Because the slide is quite simple, I think you can just talk through it.
Then the next keyword for the headline, sustainable business. We're thinking of sustainable profit and sustainable growth, right? How to sustain the profit and the growth of the company in the long run. Growth also means revenue growth and profit growth, of course. Okay? No. Okay. Then the next, talking about sustainable profit and growth. What we can find is from ROE, return on equity of the company, right? The financial ratio, the main financial ratio that we can find how to show the sustainable profit and growth. And the shareholders of the listed company, what they're looking for is the sustainable yield and appreciation of the company, appreciation of the stock price and the yield, the gain from the dividend payout each year. Okay, then the next issue I want to talk about, professional CEO. Professional CEO, they are non-shareholder or being a minor shareholder in the company. Comparing to another type of CEO, is a major shareholder being the CEO. For example, I'm the CEO and also the major shareholder of Supalai Public Company. And I'm also the chairman of the board at the same time. Okay? And my family owns approximately 29% of the company. Actually, the company, the majority are owned by the public. My family only own 29%, only less than 1/3. Talking about family, when family members being in the board, being one of the director, normally I'll be executive director, people who manage the company also. And independent director will be from outside, right? The problem of the family business is the capability of the person who manages the company. Is he capable enough? Is he qualified? And other point is the conflict of interest of the family and the public company. And the next slide I'm showing you is the corporate governance report of Supalai. Supalai comparing to total listed company. Total listed company got mark 75, while set 100, 84, set 50, 87, and Supalai we got 94. ขึ้นหรือเปล่าไม่ขึ้น No. Well, this is to show that Supalai is above average, no matter set 50, set 100, or among all the listed company in governance issue. What about performance? Supalai has been the best performer. We used to get best performance award, and in the past 10 years, we are the best performer comparing to other listed real estate development company. Well, governance is one of the main factors which help boost up the performance of the company. When comparing the financial ratio result, no matter net after tax, ROE of the company to other companies, we are far higher than our competitor. And also our S&A are far less. That's why we are the best performer for the past 10 years. And the last two slides want to show you is to compare the family business type of management, which I call old-fashioned management, or in Thai we can say that จัดการแบบเท่าแก่ in Chinese is 头家 in Mandarin, and เท่าแก่ in 潮州. Okay, most of the family business, old-fashioned business, I mean, okay. Normally, widely practiced in the past tended to be guesstimate approach. 2 + 2, maybe 4. Is that correct? But modern management will try to be calculated based on a scientific approach and analysis, most currently used. But that's the modern management. When I compare to Supalai, we call it Supalai post-management, modern management, combining the good points of old-fashioned management and modern management. We'll try to be scientific plus dynamism and flexibility. For example, 2 + 2 can be 3 + 1, or 8 divided by 2, or square root 16, or maybe more. The old-fashioned management are based on experience, while modern management mainly based on theory and case study and supervised management will based on both theory and experience. Old-fashioned management are mainly based on emotional approach on decision making. Modern management will use a lot of information, informative and statistical approach, but sometimes to take a lot of time and money and expenses. Supervised way are based on more dimensions of information. Old-fashioned management is suitable for small business. Modern management is mostly used in medium and large business enterprise, but supervised way, postmodern management can be applied to any size and any type of business. And the other point, old-fashioned management are dictatorial management mainly. Modern management are democratic management mainly, but supervised way will combine both. Depends on situational management. Old-fashioned are unplanned. Modern management plan, but usually sometimes wasting a lot of expenses, time, and opportunity. Supervised way is to plan with efficient time and expenses to reduce opportunity costs. Old-fashioned management normally will take advantage to maximize profit, maybe two books of accounting, like Kun Kittipong said, maximize profit, pay less tax or no tax at all. Modern management normally emphasize on wealth of shareholders and employees in the past, but later on emphasize more on general stakeholders. I wrote this 26 years ago. I said that supervised postmodern management, we maximize the satisfaction of all parties concerned, which means all the stakeholders. This is the way that we manage the company for 26 years. We have been listed for 23 years, and we have been the best performer in the industry in the past 10 years. And governance play important part of our success and performance.
ขอบคุณครับคุณประทีปครับ so actually we don't with คุณประทีป experience we don't need the slides and next time we can do IT governance and family business anyway คุณประทีปis very interesting what คุณประทีป said typical family typical old-fashioned family it start with intuitive it start with instinct but then as you have to put the CG in place there's system to balance that and that make it sustainable in the family business old style there's emotion but the new system you have to calculate but that calculation has to be a well-informed calculation so so Suphalai has struck the balance between still keep the old-fashioned, the good thing about old-fashioned, but add the new system into that also. So the next round of question. How do we make it work? The thing is that when we talk about family business and having outsider like independent director, my first instinct is that the family business is going to say, am I going to lose control having outsider coming in? And the independent director who has not stepped in, the first question in their mind is that, am I going to be used as a rubber stamp? Right. So, starting from Kunarat, how does it work? How do you get outsider to come and create the value within the group of people that are family and want control?
I think it's not very easy question, okay? But I try to elaborate in my own knowledge and what I've been trained as a family business advisor, okay? Just to begin with, even among all the listed company in Thailand or in abroad, I must say that the real effective boards that really happen in the utopia, in the very ideal world, is very rare. As we can see and observe, even among the top 5 that Fortune's company, some of them even got big scandal. So, we have to ask ourselves how we really want to structure our board to be the most effective board. Okay, so what's the components of the effective boards? Okay, you have to have, first of all, the structure, the board structure, okay, in terms of the size of the members, of generations among the board structure, even the subcommittee. And the last one, a big sacrifice from the leaders or from the head of the business family. Are they willing to sacrifice of chairmanship and the CEO? In the utopia, that's what the effective structure of the board is supposed to be. Then second, board member. Who should sit on the board? Competency. Do you have a right competency? Are they really independent? Even among the members, family member, they also act as individuals to act and say whatever they think and they believe. They act on the interest for the company. What we have learned is that we need to think of the fiduciary. That means you have to care, the act of the deal of care, what is prudence, what's the best interest of the shareholder, all right? And second, is obedience. How could we obedience the company charter? As Dr. Kittipong has mentioned, company should have a certain company charter and the laws, legals. Above all, among us here as the independent director, we have to comply to the SEC or listed in stock market. There's the laws to govern and the code of conduct of the company. All right, and the third one is loyalty. How should we act in the best manner, not to have the conflict of interest, especially among the family members. All right, and last one, D, is the disclosure. How much we're willing to disclose the internal information among the family member, among the independent directors, among the shareholder. That's the way I think that we need to adhere for the board effectiveness. So board structure, individual, board members, and the process. How we gonna carry on, the way we conduct the meeting, the information that we're gonna be considering during the time of the board meeting. So to begin with, I think one must need to ask ourselves or themselves how we want the board to be conducted. We really want the effectiveness. If we really want, we have to follow this. And then we have to choose the right person to sit in the board. That's the director effectiveness. As a component of the director effectiveness, one needs to consider independence, competency, and behavior. How one must respect each other in the board member. I think that's way how we're gonna be structuring it. The next question we should ask, okay, if one want to go to utopia, how to? I think for the family business, as I said, it's the sacrifice that the leader need to be made. When I say leader, in fact, in the family business, there are two types of leader. One is a family committee. You know, if you want to set a proper family, board, I call it family committee. It should consist of the core family member who can make a certain influence or decision. It's always happen among the second or third generation. If the first, then it's very simple. The head, as a father or mother or grandfather, grandmother, is the head of a family committee, and it's only a few members. Then, let's say in a sibling partnership, you have a few or more than few of family members sitting together, then it's still relative to communicate or to agree upon a certain issues. It gets more complicated when you have third generation mixed with second, or second, third mixed with fourth. So my advice is that if you really want to structure, do it as soon as possible. Okay, let's say how. Yeah. Among a family member, I think we need to have a proper meeting to agree upon how we want to agree among yourself or among themselves as a family member. How do you want to contribute to the family, or how the family business can contribute to you? You have to discuss and share the vision and mission together. As it takes time, it's a process. It's not a 1 day or 1 month or 2 months. If you really want to plan to have a proper family governance, to form a family committee, you should have a step. My advice is that learn from the book, or learn from Ajahn Kittipong, or learn from some institution such as IOD. Actually, IOD already set up the cost to sustain the family business. As well, I think myself, I'm very fortunate that I've been trained as a family business advisor from the Family Firm Institution from Boston, and I also learned the good governance from the IOD called DCP, Director Certificate P Program. Okay, DCP is a good combination. So if you want to really set the effective board of family governance structure, then you should get involved in the course of these two. Then you will learn the process how to. Okay, I'll share the time with other members first. Okay, and I'll entertain the question later on.
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับคุณ Thank you คุณอนุรัตน์ I had nothing to do with his answer. Going to DCP is the genuine answer from Kun Anurat. I didn't influence that, but thank you very much indeed. Coming to Kun Kittipong, you have seen a lot of family business. What are the common challenge in terms of putting the structure of the corporate governance in place? What are the common challenge? What are the most difficult thing that you have seen?
I think Kun Anurat has answered those questions. Normally, again, I would borrow the word of Professor Davis in his book called Generation to Generation. He says, structure is a friend, which means we're talking about corporate structure. The most challenge that Kun Anurat talking about is to sacrifice. Most of the family members, they thought that they don't need outsider. They thought that they themselves can manage the company. They thought that the kids, the children can manage the company because they send them to have a good education. They don't have the process to evaluate, to do a real, whether the family members are suitable to serve the new CEO or the new generation of this company. That's why, in my view, the tools is again repeat the structure of a professional in an operating company, not in the family-owned company whereby we call a holding company. Because you're talking about, as Gora say, families, business. If all the family member, we talk about family first or business first. In Asia context, I believe that the family should come first. Which means when it comes first, it doesn't mean you take benefit of the public. But it means that it should decided by the consensus of among family members, whereby you can start with a good communications. So long as you give information, convey information to decision-making a family member about how to invest, whether you want to borrow money, or whether you're going to do what, listed company, you need to communicate and get a consensus from family member. And then when you come to operating company, that's what you need outside the directors to help to navigate or put a vision, because you know that maybe yourself are not, even the today world business keep changing. It's not the same old style of doing business. You never think about the big company can fail. The new phase of generation company coming up, IT, coming up in US, in San Francisco, wherever. Or the younger generation, 19 years old, can running a private equity fund, running a company. So the world changed. We mean, I think most of this room are baby boomer, I think, 50 up. Even I'm 60 now, I consider baby boomer. So we have different concept in working. So you need to change, and then you have professional to run. My problem when dealing with the family member, they always said, I don't need outsider, Ajahn Kittipong. My family can be able to run business. And if I want, I don't have good resource to help, because those people doesn't aware of my business. They don't know about my family root, they don't know. And in Thailand, most of them, when they appointed, they appoint what? Ex-government officer who know nothing about family business at all. Ex-banker, maybe they know a little bit on family business because they lend money to a family. These people have to learn. But again, I would praise just conflict interest, because I used to be director of IOD. I think IOD has training a very bunch of 4,000 or 5,000 directors now. And these areas have to learn more about family business. They have the principle on corporate governance, how to run fiduciary duty, duty of loyalty, duty of obedience, according to the public company law and private company law. But that's not enough. The directors for family business, as I mentioned to you, need to learn more, go to the root, learning the family background, learning psychology. So the toughest one is that, are you going to really give up your power to outsider? Actually, you don't give up. You just give certain of those professional directors to run and keep some common. And most important one, which you must know, is to be mentor of your family member. These people can be your children mentor along the life of, because you know, if you have a very capable director who have experience in banking, finance, industrial, whatever, government relationship, these people can be mentor your children. Because if your children just only met the same generation, they would not learn more. That's what the step-by-step training or succession plan is important. So that's a key. I don't know how to say, but I think a new generation of company now, they learn. They want to, everyone want to have their generation to be sustainable. They want to be listed. They want to be rich. But is that the only thing that you want to be rich? Interestingly, I have one, I can't remember, a professor We call give and take. This is a book by Professor someone, Gary Grant, David Grant or something from Kellogg. They have a study showing that the giver and the taker, which one is more sustainable? I think we can apply the same rule for family business and the listed company. The survey result found that the taker, which means you take all benefit, maximize your profit, will make more profit than a giver. But the data show that the giver company have the long sustainable than the taker company, which is true. So that's the key point, that if we are serving directors to the family-owned company, even listed or non-listed, the key important role of director is that speak out. Don't just listen and say, What we call in Thai, whenever I teach IOD, is that you are ขุนเพลิดพลอยพยัคฆ์ But yes man, yes mom. Never say, no, I don't think it's right. That's a key of directorship we have. We are afraid of becoming talking against the owner. Now people may talking about because they fear about to be in jail. But that is not the point that I thinking. If you talk about, if you want to be a professional director for both family business or non-family business, is to speak out and convey or communicate your thought, your knowledge, transfer to them. That's the thing the family want. I think the new generation, they want a full communication discussion. That's why I think, come back to again on governance, 15 rules by SET, 5 rules of OECD is still applicable. Transparencies, no conflict, and so on and so forth. That's the key part if to run family business. I think that's the key part that director have to learn and dare to speak. Thank you.
What I picked up from Kun Kittipong's point is that family business, as the world change, they might think that they know best about their business or their family, but they still need outsider to get them to understand the change. The second thing is that the outsider, the directors, independent director, can be a good mentor. And thirdly, I like the word courage. I like the word speak up. That is very important because in Thailand, there is this word called เกรงใจ And เกรงใจ do you know what is the translation of เกรงใจ in English?
คุณจำนง you are the best translator. Where are you? คุณจำนง
The thing is that there is hesitate too often. This is something that in the Western world, you maybe
It's too long word.
Yeah.
We need one word คุณจำนง
We keep things to ourselves even though we displeased. We just keep things to ourselves. And this make communication break down sometimes. And that goes back to Kun Kittipong about communication as a challenge. You have something to add?
I would like to add the benefit of having the independent directors. I think if you have a proper governance structure, when I say governance structure, I mean if your family already have your family committee board, all right, consists of a core family member or consists of a certain member from each family trees, then you have this we call a family committee, and you have a proper board of director. In the ideal world, the board of directors should consist of more independent director, if possible. As a research, already have a lot of research that the well-run company should consist of, the independent directors who do not relate directly or indirectly with the family members, and you should have a certain committee, the board committee, risk committee, compensation, whatsoever. I think among the independent directors, there should someone who really know the family system, who understand the family dynamics. Okay, when I say family dynamics, in the family, you always have ups and downs in the relationship. Let alone, don't do business together among a family. Sometimes you have conflict. You know, if you have to work together, there's so many conflicts and so many issues that need to be discussed, need to be, you know, decision need to be made. Some sensitive issues, if you have the independent director who really knows the family system, this one can act as mediator, you know, act as a buffer, so they can, you know, the diplomatic way, you know, speak to both parties and find some solution, come up with the alternative. You know, I don't think that in real life there should be one answer to some answer. There should be an alternative to let them choose and decide. And the independent directors could act as the mediator. That's I want to add to that. And you know, how should one be the best person? I think integrity. You know, one need to have the integrity, walk the talks, and of course a certain knowledge have to be there in order to offer the family member a certain solutions. Right.
Thank you. One more question before we turn to the floor. And Kun Patip, you have something to add, or okay, please.
Okay. Talking about independent director in the morning session, some speaker talked about this also. To me, I've been chair in the board for about 20 years. In the first 5-6 years, Supalai Public Companies are under the outside independent director being the chairman. And later on, I was elected to be the chairman of the board. Actually, our board members are half are independent director, and the other half are executive director being non-independent. To me, independent director and non-independent directors are equally important. Actually, when Supalai's board meeting, the independent and non-independent just sit mixed together. We don't sit independent director on one side and non-independent on the other side. And everyone just participate in the discussion. And I don't feel any difference. I never noticed and never feel any difference between independent and non-independent. But actually, there are differences based on each individual director's contribution, or based on their opinion to express, asking intelligent question and adding intelligent, value added and opinions on certain decisions. To me, is they're doing the same thing. To me, the more important thing is the director mix of the board. In Supalai Public Company, we have 2 accountants, 2 finance, 2 in finance, 2 economists, 1 in law, 2 architects, 1 engineer. So we have quite a mix which supplements each other. I think that's important, more important than we never separate between independent or non-independent. They just do the same job in the meeting. Everyone just does the same job. But in fact, as appointed the independent director, they are being the group of persons to take care of the minor shareholder, right? They are in the audit subcommittee. They are in the nomination and remuneration subcommittee. They are also in the governance subcommittee and risk committee. Yeah, we have these four subcommittee, which are all independent directors. And to me, the frequency of board meeting are important. so that the board member they can follow up what is going on, what are the performance of the company. We have meet every monthly meeting. We have monthly and take many hours, 3-4 hours for each meeting. Okay.
One more question to Kun Patib only, and then we'll welcome the floor. If I were your independent director, I would be really เกรงใจ to you. You know why? He's the founder. He's the
in my
he
board.
makes
The
it
independent
happen,
director
you know.
never เกรงใจ
Yeah, but how do you encourage a quality conversation in the meeting room, in the boardroom?
This way, we have different. We did have many different opinions on decision makings. For example, some of the board members want to go on with this project. Some of them don't, for investment point of view. But for governance point of view, we never have any problem at all. That's why we got high score on governance. It's so simple. We just follow the regulation and rules set by the SET and SEC. That's it. That's it. So simple. We never have any problem, any conflict on that, on governance issue at all.
Okay, so your answer is quite resonate with Kun Kittipong's, which is one of the solution to make the family business is to be listed, because after you become listed, you have the regulation and you have some certain process to follow. Yeah.
One thing, Kun Karavet, I would like to add. I think one key factor, just my comment to say for you to become a director in the family business is that you must be accepted by all family member that you have no conflict interest. You are not the guy from the big brother. You have to ensure that you have no conflict. When you speak out, you look after the family business as a whole, not a person who nominates you on those boards. That's why I will recommend that when you're going to choose somebody to serve in the board of operating company, you need to ensure that this guy is the guy we accepted by all branch of the brother and sister in the family member, because he can not only mentor or set a vision company, but he can be a conflict solver if they have family conflict. And this เกรงใจ should be important one when you become a person who try to mediate all those conflicts. I think that's somehow the เกรงใจ somehow it work in the sense that you listen to this guy, make sure that he has no conflict interest, and they always can say that have no conflict. If I'm going to support one member to be a CEO of the operating company, I should be able to say that I evaluate this guy and he's the best among the family member, and this guy is not good, we have to have outsider. And you can see a number of family company here in Thailand. The CEO, I would say that I not advise this company, but recently the central have outsider to serve the CEO of the company. I mean, after they go through the process, they said this is the most suitable person. That's why to sacrifice of the family member is somehow is important.
Yeah, Kap. We have 10 more minutes for some questions. Anyone would like to ask anything, or maybe sharing your experience? Yes, please. We need a microphone. Yes.
Thank you. Just to share a comment about Mr. Kutbati said. When he said that both independent director and non-independent director are sitting together, it's important, yes, because they are complementary. The board is really working as a team all together, and it's important to have people who know the business, who know the company inside, which are family director, and having also independent directors, which bring over competencies that perhaps the family don't have. So it's really working. I think what is really important is really working together and working as a team.
That's a good point. It's about teamwork. Yeah.
And apart from teamwork, I think it's a good mix. How Kun Prateep, choose the directors, from different disciplinary. I think the mix of disciplinary will help.
I think one thing would like to add. I just came back from my partner annual meeting, and we talk about diversity, which means is the good thing in Europe. They try to have, just for the ladies, they try to have more members of the board. It's ladies sitting, and I've been talking diversity. It's ladies or maybe younger generations, which can change or can have a different view. I think that somehow is important too.
Yes, please.
Thank you for your presentation. I'd just like the panel members' views on the situation where you have a family-controlled company that's listed and engagement by the family members with institutional investors so that they do understand the views of institutional investors and how they see their company.
Let me repeat the questions. So, would you like to repeat the question, please?
Sure.
We are not sure we understand.
So in the situation where you have a listed company which is family controlled, your thoughts on whether there should be engagement between family members who are on the board and institutional investors so that the family members also get an understanding of how institutional investors view their company.
Okay.
Yeah, well, for example, Superlight Public Company, we have many investors from famous investment funds and institutions around the world to be our shareholder. And some of them, they have the shares being owner of Superlight for a long time, for 10 years or so. And well, they trust us. They're happy with the performance, and they can see our CG score, 94 comparing to the average, and they our credit rating is A. We are the top 3 of the industry. And I think the performance of the company is the most important thing for investor. If you don't have good governance, that company won't have good performance. It's an important part of the performance. A sustainable part.
Maybe I just to supplement those questions. I think the perception, for institutional investor in Thai to the Thai family-owned company, they still, in my view, they are not quite sure how they do. Even though they have rules, conflict of interest, governance issue, but maybe in my view, probably if you are holding, but like Kun Prateep, he owns 29-30%, it's not big, so you have to look after other 70%. But the company family owns 50% or 70%, and you don't communicate those with financial institution, then I think there's something that you own 70%. So what's going on your case? Because you always moving around and always doing a connected transaction and so on and so forth. That may be questionable. So I in my view, probably the company that have family owned more than 50% need to be doing work with the institutional investor too, in my view.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question. Do you think, as in a family company, you've got more long-term horizon rather than a short-term, which is sometimes preoccupation for shareholders? You have more time. Do you think you've got more time because it's your own company, so perhaps you can make decision investment where you don't get an immediate profit, but more on the long period?
I think I can share this question from the research. Most of the successful family business, some of them they're not listed, so they don't have to worry about short-term maximize. Okay, and they always think of the medium to long-term interest, so they can withstand, the short-term return. So mostly it's paid off. I think that's one good thing of being a very family business, family control. They can sacrifice the immediate return for the sake of the long term, for their family legacy, right?
One thing again, add up because I just came back from US and I saw a lot of fun. I don't know whether I can consider this institutional investor, but you can see more trend that some fund whereby they want a quick return. They put pressure on family business. This is another thing that you need to look into when you are listed, that whether you want this type of investor to invest in your company. Because you can see that they want more dividend, they just push the company to declare dividend and so on and so forth. And that's something you need to look into it, whether you want this type of investor or you want like a long-term investor like invest in Supha-like company, because that may push you so hard, because in Thailand you have not seen those yet. Activist shareholders, whereby in other country they have one. So in Thailand, I think it still have a room to, which I don't agree to have activist investor in certain only quick return. I think that if there are certain activist investors talk about sustainability, environmental, and so on and so forth, I think that's good, but not just quick return, which I think need to take into account on the family business that listed too.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point, and I think that might come back to a little bit to your question, and I think does it take some certain institute who understand family business to be willing to invest in a family business and understand that there might be the balance between short term and long term. Yeah.
There are some quite large US asset managers, BlackRock being one, State Street being another, that are passive managers. So they are invested in family-owned businesses without making a conscious choice to make that investment. And so they're always concerned that the interests of minority shareholders are protected by the governance structures of those companies.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
My question to Ajahn in particular, Ajahn, because I like your book, okay, and you mentioned about this compensation, compassion, etc. My question to you is that, how would you, settle to the family business in the case that they not even talk to each other? You know what I mean? Because, as a consultant, because I am the business consultant as well, and also now I also have my clients. You're right that we should be the moderator or whoever, and sometimes I become the negotiator as well. So I think probably you can share that, what should we do to make them settle the case, or start with working together as a team? Because it's easy to say that, they should work as a team. But what I found, there never be a team. That's why, they always have problems.
This is very difficult, tough questions. If they don't talk to each other, it means that the communication is breakdown. But there should be somebody to be able to let these people talking. You're talking about ผู้ใหญ่, right? Or even you talk about the monk. Whatever the most respected family member. I have one case which I'm doing now is very, very unfortunate, that son and father are fighting each other and they don't talk. Even there are so many attempts, and now they have to settle the case in court. But in the meantime, but one thing I can learn from them is that the son always respected the fathers. because the father keep attacking. I said, why don't you sue back your father? Just kidding, I know that he will not do it. But he said, no, he's still my father. That's some good thing of family business. By learning this, I think one day, maybe the court can be a person who make decisions. Said, if you try to sue your son, you maybe you lose something. So I think talking is the best way. But the final one, you buy out the business and you split, you diversify and you split business. And that's the best way to do. And if you are listed, you can put the share in the market and sell. But if you don't list it, then the problem, what is the valuation? So this is my comment.
Okay, I don't hear so much in Thailand about how to, somebody can help and resolve this kind of family rivalry. But it's common, it's happened everywhere in the world, not only Thailand. But in Europe or in United States, they have a therapist, we call family therapists. Okay? In fact, Thailand should consider to have a certain people
Thailand, you go to fortune teller.
No, but really, seriously, I think this is one of the disciplinary that practice somebody who is expert in psychology and who good in communication and can act as mediator, somebody who can be trusted, that can talk and share the internal feeling, to let out a certain issues that have been kept long years. So I think let's see if a certain therapist can help. Okay.
And just one, in Europe, we've got also sometimes special rules just to regulate the relationship inside the family. So in order to avoid some conflicts or just to determine in advance how it's going to be solved if conflicts happen inside the family.
Just to add one thing, I think after all, what we try to achieve is the effective board, okay, who can contribute to the family business. To begin with, I think a core family member should think at how they like to plan to have the family member being prepared to be the effective ownership. Eventually, they have to own the share, and some of them have to run the company. To run the company. So in my learning in the last 4 or 5 years, it should start by family planning, strategic planning for family business. Basically, what you need is a parallel planning process. One is how to set up the family governance, being the family committee. Among the family core member should lay out what's their vision and what's the mission, for the next 5 to 10 years, how they like to vision how the family being together, work together, share the wealth together, maintain the wealth, being a steward, because stewardship, just like Dr. Kittipong mentioned, that what you own now is not really yours. You just keep it for the future, next generation. All right, so the family should get together, If they don't have enough knowledge, they should find somebody who help as a trusted advisor and lay down the plan and guide them to the process, set up a family governance as well as how to put up the business board and working together, alignment for the shared vision and mission.
I think the time is up, and let me conclude the experience from Kun Anurat first. Kun Anurat talked about family business as you have to strike the balance between family itself and the system. And with a good corporate governance, it can help with resolving a lot of things, including the conflict. And then Kun Patip said about an effective board, you have to have the right mix, the right chemistry, and the good teamwork, and the frequency of the board meeting is very important. And for Kun Kittipong, family, instinctively, we thought we know best. We don't need an outsider. But actually we do, because the world is changing. So we need someone to remind us that the world is changing. And that is how the effective board should work with the good independent directors. And I would like to return the floor and the event back to the organizer.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, and the great presentation and panel discussion. Let's have another coffee break for another 15 minutes, and we come back at 3:45 p.m. for the last session on the evaluation mechanism of board performance to enhance board effectiveness. Enjoy your coffee break. Welcome back to the last session of Thailand CG Forum, ladies and gentlemen. This session is on evaluating board performance, constructive mechanism for improving board effectiveness. And there are 5 speakers here, including the moderator. The first one, Ms. Anne Moliner, Director of CS International from Switzerland. She's an experienced director and member of governing board of the ICGN, and she's developed CG practices for both companies and for regulators in Australia, Asia and South Asia and Europe. Second, Ms. Jane Starkberry, a principal of Diligence Board Advisory, where she leads the board evaluation practice, designs and delivers projects relating to board and committee effectiveness, director performance and assessment. Third, Mr. Witit Linutpong. He is currently the Director and Chairman of Leadership Development and Compensation Committee at InTouch Holdings. Concurrently, he is Chairman of the Board at Advanced Info Service Public Company Limited, or AIS. Fourth, Ms. Suwaphat Jalernyin. She's regarded as top investment banker with more than 25 years experiences in Thai capital market and has experiences in consulting with top management of Thai companies. And now she's director and executive director of Thanachat Securities Public Company Limited. And I shall pass on my microphone here to the moderator of this panel, Mr. Badin Unagun. He is an executive vice president of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, and he's also an executive director of the Sustainable Development Center with a key mission of promoting sustainable development of Thai capital market. Let's welcome all the speakers on the stage.
Good afternoon. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, all of you, for staying. I know this is the last session, okay? And it's difficult to stay awake. So, enjoy yourself. You can eat, you can drink, you can talk, okay? we will entertain you from up here, okay? All this, the whole day. Some of you weren't here, but I've been hearing about having a good, performing, effective board in place for a company, for it to be sustainable, to be good, to be profitable, and so on. One of the most important things, and it's always the last thing, is actually the assessment. how do you assess oneself that one does perform their job? Board of directors are pretty much the same. Okay, actually, I'm always being assessed by my board. Now it's my chance to get them back. And asking all these gurus, how should a board be assessed? So let me start off with Kun Ann. In a global context, okay, how far has this board assessment come, and where do you think it is now today?
Thank you very much, but may I just digress before I begin to thank the SEC and the SET for this event, and most of all also for inviting me back to lovely Thailand. My experience here is I was working with the SEC a long time ago in terms of developments in financial reporting, so I'm enjoying my colleagues and visiting my colleagues and coming back. So thank you for the invitation. Where is board evaluation? Well, the financial crisis has taught us too many things, actually probably far too many things. And I've just finished writing a manuscript, if you like, of several hundred pages almost, of trying to track what have been the developments in corporate governance because of the financial crisis. And it comes